The risk assessment itself, I mean, once again, that's basically where you've now defined what your mission critical applications are. So at that point in time, you want to start looking at the infrastructure itself. And so that's where the IT guys really, they've taken now the assessment from the business impact analysis with the executives, and now they're going to start looking at the actual infrastructure. From my perspective, the key thing is looking at what are your single points of failure out there. There are enough ways to, in turn, eliminate failure points by, in turn, doing certain things in your infrastructure to make sure you avoid that. I mean, once again, when we look at networks, I think is the simplest thing to look at. When you look at network infrastructure itself, you can, in turn, have dual networking links coming into your building. You can have dual network cards on your systems. You can in turn pass the fiber itself off to dual routers and dual switches. So if any one of those things goes down, it's not going to bring down your application. Servers, excuse me, is another one of the classic examples. I mean, we can, for example, all the Zeta infrastructure today has dual power supplies on it. I mean, power supplies are a thing that are going to go down on a fairly regular basis. And so by having dual power supplies inside of your system, you can avoid having a single point of failure simply by doing, just like I mentioned, putting dual power supplies in it. So the next thing you need to start figuring out is identify the risk that you control versus the risk you don't control. When we look at the operations aspect of what we do, we in turn have to partner up with a lot of companies, such as hosting companies, such as internet providers. And so you start looking at the risks from their perspective, and once again, making sure that you can try and mitigate risks in the sense that you don't control. When we talked about earlier on where Zeta was having problems with one of our hosting companies, well, once again, we had a situation where we were losing power from the hosting company from their breakers at their power distribution unit. By in turn setting Zeta's infrastructure up so we in turn have a power source that goes to two different PDUs, even though they had a problem, it didn't bring down Zeta. One of the things my boss always tells me, which I find somewhat comical at times, is that 2 equals 1 and 1 equals none. And that's basically what we're talking about from a redundancy perspective. If you have a box with a single power supply on it, 1 equals none. If you have a box with 2 power supplies on it, well, 2 equals 1, because if you lose one, you're not going down.